The purpose of this webinar is to give an overview of the current legislative framework which applies in respect of family-friendly legislation in the UK, as well as providing some tips on how to not only ensure your workplace is legally compliant, but also inclusive and supportive of colleagues with families too. So to that end, today's session will cover the following: the law relating to maternity leave, adoption leave, paternity leave, and shared parental leave; other rights for parents in the workplace, so for example, time off for dependents and parental leave; risk areas for employers and lessons from case law; and then we will finish by looking at some top tips for employers to support their employees before, during, and after family leave. Looking firstly at time off for dependents, the statutory right to take unpaid time off for dependents applies to employees only, and it applies to all employees. So that's irrespective of length of service or working hours. An employee is entitled to take reasonable time off, unpaid, where it is necessary to provide assistance if a dependent falls ill, gives birth, is injured or assaulted, to make arrangements for the provision of care for a dependent who is ill or injured in consequence of the death of a dependent, to deal with the unexpected disruption, termination or breakdown of arrangements for the care of a dependent, or to deal with an unexpected incident which involves the employee's child during school hours. So this isn't about planned time off to care for dependents, for example, looking after children during school holidays or taking children to planned medical appointments. In those circumstances, the employee would need to use annual leave or take unpaid parental leave unless the employer had some other policy of relevance. Now, there are also protections of relevance here in the Equality Act 2010. This act legally protects people from discrimination, harassment and victimisation in the workplace and in other settings too, such as in the provision of goods and services and in education. But for today's purposes, we'll focus on the sections of the Act applicable to the workplace. Now, I don't have time on this webinar to go into the detail in terms of the various different types of discrimination and when they apply, but please do contact me if you'd like more information on this. Instead, today we'll focus on the types of discrimination which are particularly relevant for today's purposes. So, people, as I said, are protected from discrimination and harassment at work. But who is protected? Well, as some of you may be aware, there are 9 protected characteristics in the Equality Act 2010.